why does God not prove that he exists? I mean, he's God. If he decided to, he could quite easily prove his existence, and yet he desires for us to have faith in his existence. To understand this question, we need to realize what God's purpose is, what his goal is, what it is he's trying to achieve. See, God desires an eternal, loving relationship with us. And yet, if he were to prove his existence, we would not have free choice, free will to choose to believe in him. And to have a loving relationship requires free will, requires us to be able to choose to believe in him. Some mechanism must exist for us to make this choice. God has chosen the mechanism of faith, of trust. God could have chosen another mechanism. With the angels, God chose a different mechanism. The angels didn't need to have faith or believe in God. They observed him. They had proof. The mechanism for angels to enter into relationship with God was obedience, perfect obedience. We can be thankful God didn't choose that mechanism with us because we are incapable of perfect obedience. Every one of us will err at some point and fail to obey God. So thankfully, God has chosen faith, trust as the mechanism for us. Other religions purport different mechanisms. Buddhism says the mechanism for relationship with God is to cease to desire, to enter a state of desirelessness. Well, there's a real problem with that. As human beings, we are wired to desire. It is part of our makeup. It is part of who we are. There's no way we can actually cease to desire. The other problem is that desire in and of itself is not a problem. The matter of what we desire might be a problem. We may desire things that are wrong, things that are sinful, things that are evil, but desire itself can be good. We may desire to do good things. Hinduism has another mechanism. Hinduism says the mechanism for relationship with God is balancing your karma. That if you do an equal number of good things to balance out the bad things you've done, you enter into nirvana and have relationship with God. The problem with this is that we're trying to balance something that we don't know the value of. We are incapable of understanding the value of our actions. We don't know the complete consequences of the things that we do. So how can we know how bad we've been or how good we need to be if we don't know the consequences of our actions? We can be glad that God did not choose balancing karma as the mechanism for us to enter into relationship with him. God chose faith, trust, or belief. And I believe the reason God chose faith or trust or belief is because it's something that we can do, something we inherently, naturally do as human beings. You see, every day we have faith and we have trust. When we sit down in a chair, we have had faith that it will hold our weight. We didn't need proof. We have sufficient evidence from experience that that kind of chair can hold my weight, therefore I can have faith and sit down in it. When I get in a car to drive, I don't require proof that the brakes work. I don't inspect them every time I get in the car. I have faith and trust that my brakes are going to work. When I take medicine that a doctor prescribes, I don't have someone test the medicine to determine if it's safe. I don't even test to make sure that it's the medicine the doctor prescribed. I have faith. I have trust in that medicine. See, we're wired to trust. We do it all the time. We trust each other. We trust a chair when we sit in it. We trust the brakes in our car when we drive. We're capable of trust. Trust is not belief without evidence. It's belief, faith, based on sufficient evidence. And God provides sufficient evidence for his existence. He provides evidence in the way of philosophical arguments, apologetic arguments. He provides logical evidence in the realm of scientific evidence for God's existence. He provides historical evidence. When we look back through history and what others have done and believed, we see historical evidence for the existence of God. He provides experiential evidence for us in our daily lives, things he's done for us. See, we can trust in God. What God calls us to trust is that Jesus Christ's work on the cross is sufficient to pay for our sins and provide that relationship with God. We need to be very thankful that God doesn't prove his existence, because if he were to prove his existence, then that would preclude faith. We would no longer have a means, a mechanism to enter into relationship with God. There is no other means that we are capable of, and we are surely capable of trusting in Jesus Christ. At the end of this video, I've included some links to some videos that provide evidence for God's existence, some books that provide evidence for God's existence. I would implore you to look into this evidence and to be willing to place your faith and your trust in God, that his Son's death on the cross was sufficient to pay for our sins so that we might enter into eternal relationship with him. Thank you for listening and have a blessed day.